Welcome to the Education and Empowerment Podcast. In this show, our hosts explore success and advancement through education by interviewing today's top leaders in the fields of education, business, and technology in order to provide insight into what it really takes to succeed. This show is brought to you by Forstay, a SaaS-enabled online booking marketplace for student and intern housing. Forstay provides turnkey, all-in-one cloud-based accommodation software solutions for colleges, universities, and organizations. Learn more at offcampus.forstay.com and landlords.forstay.com. All right, let's get into the show.
Welcome to Education and Empowerment Podcast. This morning we have an amazing guest at our show, Dr. Ken Christensen, who brings wealth of experience and expertise to our podcast. As Provost and Senior Vice President for Academic Affairs at Illinois Institute of Technology, his journey through the world of education has been nothing short of inspiring. Dr. Ken Christensen's passion for education and extensive contributions to engineering, research, and industry partnerships have made him a distinguished figure in academia. His insights today promise to be both enlightening and empowering. Whether you're a student, an aspiring academic, or simply curious about the evolving landscape of education, this episode is for you. We'll delve into Dr. Ken's experiences, achievements, and most importantly, impact of Elevate program. So sit back and relax and prepare to be inspired as we explore the world of education and empowerment with Dr. Ken Christensen. First and foremost, welcome to our show. We are thrilled to have you today.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
That's amazing. As we delve into sort of your background, I was curious if, for the purposes of our Education and Empowerment podcast and our audience, you would be kind enough to share what road took you to, where you are today. Tell us a little bit more about your background and yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm an engineer by training with a PhD in applied mechanics. I've been a faculty member for over 20 years at a number of institutions, rose up the ranks, became an associate department head, and was in charge of undergraduate engineering programs at University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. It was that point where I sort of took a branch in the road toward academic leadership when I realized the impact that one can have on student success and ensuring that students have good career outcomes through the type of academic leadership that I was doing. So at that point, I served as a department chair, University of Notre Dame, a couple of other leadership roles. And after that, that brought me to Illinois Tech, first as Dean of the Armour College of Engineering, and now as Provost of the university. So really for me, my passion is student faculty success, ensuring that our people on our campus as broad an impact as possible, and that we prepare our people in ways to serve humanity. So that's kind of where I come from as an academic leader. I think institutions of higher education have a responsibility in providing access and equity in educational opportunities to students, and our university really fits that mission well.
That's amazing. And that's really, really, as I was preparing for this episode, your passion for empowering others and, helping people get to the next level, I think was one of the critical inspirations for, the inception of, this amazing program, the Elevate program. What is the root cause and how this program came into existence?
Yeah, so just to frame the conversation, our institution, Illinois Tech, was founded in the south side of Chicago in 1890, and with the mission of educating the children of the blue-collar workers on the south side, so the meat packers, steel workers, machinists. And so from its inception, this institution has been about access to education for uplift, economic uplift. And we serve that purpose today. We are number one in the state of Illinois in lifting students from the bottom 20th percentile to the top 20th percentile of economic performance. Wall Street Journal just ranked us #1 in Illinois in terms of value add and student outcomes. So we really live this purpose of an opportunity engine to empower our students for career success, not just in their first job, but over their entire career. And that's really the foundational element of the Elevate program. We've had the Elevate program in some form for a few years, but more recently in the last 18 months, we've really repositioned the program to tie together the educational experience of students through their academic training with experiential learning to ensure employment success. And so that is the triad of the Elevate program. And really, it's about providing our students with practice-based experiential learning opportunities that are industry relevant, that complement what they learn in the classroom and the labs on our campus, so that when they walk into their first job, they find success. And so for us as an institution, we unabashedly focus on career outcomes for our students. This is absolutely critical for us. Their success here, but their success once they leave. And that's really what makes this program, I think, very unique in the higher ed landscape.
That's amazing. So if you were to maybe give like one or two sort of differentiators for different stakeholders, let's say for administrators who are out there, running their own educational programs and are eager to improve and maybe borrow some of the outcomes or some of the throughputs of this program, what makes it different for the different audiences, I guess?
So I think for our institution, the first differentiator is that this notion of experiential learning to feed career success is inherent in our DNA, right?
I see.
So it's the way we operate. And so our faculty, our staff, and our students recognize that as a clear priority for our institution in a way that we believe we train students differently than a lot of other institutions. So I would say that core to being successful in this space is really truly committing to that proposition to be an opportunity engine for career outcomes for your students. I think that the other piece of this is since the 1990s, we've been deeply committed to interprofessional education as well.
Right.
And so a part of the Elevate program and a part of our institution's structure and the way we educate students includes what we call the Interprofessional Projects Program.
I see.
This is a program where all undergraduate students team together across campus in interdisciplinary teams to solve real world problems. And so I think it is those two differentiators and a mindset that really differentiate the way we approach this.
Right. Well, as I sort of delve in, the world of higher education and talk to many inspiring leaders like yourself, one of the things that I'm learning is, purpose and mission-based, programming is very, very unique. And, each program sort of has those elements that makes it unique for that institution. Or, as you mentioned, the origin of the Elevate program was to kind of serve and uplift that specific region, of Chicago, right? What impact can you sort of bravely say it's sort of you're seeing today from that program just at that locale or that geography?
Absolutely. So, if you look at the cross section of our students in our incoming class, nearly 40% are first generation students, nearly 40% are Pell eligible students. This is a student base that is looking for opportunity. If you translate that to outcomes, we have an over 92% employment rate for our graduates, and we're very, very proud of that. I think that's one very clear outcome, is that our students are incredibly competitive in the workforce marketplace. The second impact that we're seeing just year over year from last year to this year in fall enrollments for our on-campus programs, we're up nearly 20%. And I think part of that is really the value that students see in being able to come to Illinois Tech to not only get an academic education, but to actually get the wraparound experiences that amplify that education for workforce readiness when they graduate. And so at a time when higher ed is seeing stagnant, if not declining enrollments across the country, I think our value and our proposition of student success is seeing us trend in a very different and very positive direction.
That's amazing. I'm one of the graduates of a very strong experiential learning programs, myself, and I learned the impact very quickly of being very intentional in your learning, right? And so crafting and again, coming from Tajikistan myself with completely different background, coming to higher education in United States, especially graduate education, you are responsible for sort of crafting your educational program, or you are the co-crafter. You're sort of like the co-owner and the co-founder, so to speak, of that learning and those outcomes. And I think that's one of the critical sort of positive impacts that you can see. I've studied what I'm doing today, and it's been 10-15 years, and I could see myself being, when I'm comparing with other peers, I could see that this program that I attended is very similar to the program that you crafted. I do, however, sometimes wonder, though, if you're getting some pushback from, the industry. Maybe the question from people would be, well, if everybody does what they do, who's going to do the rest of it? Is going to, clean houses and clean, I don't know. I'm just coming up with different roles here. Do you see any challenges or pushback for running such program?
No, I think that particularly at a time when the value of a college degree is being questioned, I think a program like this actually really emphasizes the value
Right.
of someone attending college. There's a spectrum of careers that help support our global economy. And there are different points in which, an individual enters that workforce. And so, in fact, our university is taking a very broad purview and view of education to be even beyond just degree programs, from workforce development, lifelong learning, upskill, reskill. And I think these are the ways that nimble and
Right.
dynamic institutions can thrive in today's and tomorrow's global environment from an education perspective. One of the values of our Elevate program is that in many ways, we're simply intentionally packaging things that already existed. So let me give you a couple of examples.
Please.
So a student in the Elevate program enters their freshman year. They meet with periodically an academic advisor that, of course, provides them feedback on their academic program, but then also helps them understand that along this Elevate pathway of their degree program, they'll have an opportunity to package together 3 to 5 intentional experiential learning opportunities together to help them have good career outcomes. So examples include even something as simple as a virtual internship, or an on-site internship, or a co-op, or undergraduate research on campus, or being part of a student competition team, the car builder, rocketry team, or robotics team. The crux of the Elevate program is to get them thinking about that the first day they're on campus, not their junior year. And I think one of the weaknesses of a less prescribed approach to this is that many times students will wait too long to enter into those experiences. So this is really about awareness and about intentionality. Beyond that, students have many, many choices to do this. And it's really just about making them understand how important it is to be intentional in building these kinds of experiences. And again, we want these experiences to be industry relevant, but we're not teaching industry specific aspects. What we're doing is we're sensitizing them to what it's like to work in the global economy of today and tomorrow. How to communicate, how to collaborate, how to work with people from different disciplines to achieve a common result. These are all foundational skill sets that they don't necessarily get in the classroom. And so Elevate provides a platform for ensuring that they have that kind of training.
That's amazing. It fascinates me how, intentionality is something that yields very great impact. I mean, at highest rate. I wonder, though, if we were to sort of scale this, if you were given, I don't know, a couple $1 million, funding to go and create similar program at another institution, or if there are other higher education institutions that are out there that want to replicate, similar programs, what would you do differently? How would you start implementing it?
Yeah, so I think that if one were thinking about building something like this from scratch, I think the first thing to take stock of is, what do you already have? As I said before, we had a lot of the experiences already.
Right.
This was more about providing a scaffolding to structure it in very intentional ways. So I think that most institutions have these kinds of assets available. The second piece of the puzzle that I think is really critical is industry involvement, either
Right.
through sponsorship of experiences, ensuring pathways to internships and full-time employment eventually. I think you have to have a robust structure around that. And then everything else is really about the scaffolding. And so
Mhm.
we leverage a portal, an online portal that hosts all of our experiences. We dovetail the conversations about Elevate and the program into academic advising. So it doesn't
Right.
necessarily require a huge increase in human capital resources to
Right.
help execute this. This just becomes a part of the overall student experience at Illinois Tech. I
Mhm.
think I think one of the most critical thing is ensuring that your community rallies behind this kind of purpose, because
Mm.
you need advocates to help students understand why these things are important. Many of them already do,
Right.
but there are some that, for various reasons, may not understand the value of having an internship or an undergraduate research experience, or being a part of one of the student competition teams. And
Mhm.
for faculty and staff to be able to advocate in a very authentic way for this value proposition,
Right.
to me, I think that might actually be the most critical thing that you have to build for this to be successful.
Can you give us examples of how you engage, sort of the public or the community, whether it's network of employers or network of, sort of experience providers? What's the right term here? And then as well as like the general public, the parents, the different stakeholders, I guess.
Yeah, so I think again, you hit on something so critical here. We are very intentional about building industry partnerships that we can immerse into the academic experiences of our students. So sponsoring capstone projects, sponsoring these
Mm.
iPro projects I talked about earlier. These are some of the ways that we bring industry into the fold in a very authentic way, not a transactional way, but a
Mm.
very authentic way of helping co-create and co-teach our students. So I think that's one way that you bridge into that and can show value for these kinds of experiences. In terms of helping students, prospective students, our current students, their parents, and the like about the value of this, it
Hmm.
really comes down to outcomes,
I
right?
see.
And I think that, again, at a time where a higher ed degree, the value of that is coming into question, I think you're seeing people really focus on what's the value add of that experience,
I
and
see.
what are the long-term outcomes, right? You
Hmm.
see the ratings agencies shifting in that direction, right? The Wall
Mm.
Street Journal rankings, US News and World Report, they're all shifting toward an emphasis about not the inputs but the outputs. And so for us, it's really interesting because we've always valued that part. We've
Correct.
always valued the output. We've always measured our success on the output, and now we're at a time where we can reap the benefits of that. And having the Elevate program is a very well defined approach to doing that, has really paid dividends for us.
That's amazing. The results that I learned, as well as I was preparing for this, episode in our conversation, they stunning. I mean, do you mind sharing a couple of bigger highlights? You did mention about like 40%, but what other sort of aspects of the program scalable and you seeing that result and you want to scale further? Like what are your hopes for the future of Elevate program?
Yeah, so we first launched this at the undergraduate level. Again, we're now expanding into our graduate programs,
Right.
because more and more students with master's and PhD degrees are not going into academia or research based jobs. They're actually shifting into industry jobs.
Hmm.
So, again, the relevance of industry relevant experiences and positioning our graduate students for success is really critical. And I think our enrollment numbers really speak to the value proposition. Again, we're up year over year just from last year, 20% in our on-campus enrollments. So I think that right there really amplifies this. But again, our 92% employment rate for our graduates is something that we're incredibly proud of. And the value add of economic growth for our graduates, I think, really speaks to the outcomes of this type of approach. And again,
Right.
it's interesting. The world is moving at a lightning pace. Higher ed is not used to moving even at something more than a glacial pace.
Right.
And this is a time more than ever for higher ed to become a nimble entity. And so, if I'm offering advice to other institutions to try to find their unique place in the marketplace,
Right.
part of doing that is becoming nimble and dynamic and willing to shift with the trends of the global economy, willing to shift with the trends of the student and employer marketplaces. And for us, the Elevate program is part of our shift in that way. We're committed to that because, again, when you're focused on student success and outcomes,
Correct.
you have to pivot because those successes and outcomes are shifting so dramatically and at a pace we've never seen in the global economy.
It's interesting you say that. I was also wondering about being nimble, being flexible. Can you dwell another minute on sort of what that means and how that is accomplishable? Because again, for us, for Forstay, we know what nimble means and we kind of cracked that code and we know how to work fast and sort of adjust and take in. But for an educational, a higher education institution that has been traditionally sort of like the very slow moving big shark, so to speak. Tell us more.
Yeah, so I think it really comes down to, again, rallying behind a common vision and purpose. In higher ed, what that means is the administration leadership setting a strategy vision that the faculty and staff align around. Because
Right.
many of the things that you want to accomplish in higher ed require a shared governance approach. Right. And so, for example, we just launched 4 degree programs on the Coursera platform, 3 master's degrees and an undergraduate completion degree. In normal circumstances, it takes over a year to get a new degree program approved through the faculty governance process.
Right.
It's a rigorous evaluation. It's one that's absolutely critical to maintaining value and quality in academic programs. We did it in a handful of months,
Right.
like 3 months, because we all had alignment that this was something that our institution wanted to do. We all believed in it and we pushed it forward. And so, within a matter of about 6 months, we launched 4 degree programs in this way. And the way it came about was by alignment of value and purpose and then moving forward. And so to me, that's what it really means in higher ed, is to be nimble. Is there's always a place for constructive conversation, discourse, debate.
Right.
But if you're aligned in purpose and mission, you can move very quickly, and you can really find a unique position in the marketplace by being nimble that way.
Right. Your answer is, certainly stunning. And that's one of the things I'm learning as well, is that, yeah, you can sort of have a discourse and debate about sort of, aligning the programs. But if on the top, those higher objectives and higher vision, and even on the vision side, there's such a big debate. Oh, yeah, the vision is to empower students. But then the question becomes how, in what way, shape, or form? So you have to be very vocal to voice that, and then to bring your sort of team and other members of that group together in order to see that alignment and work faster. That's amazing. Dr. Christensen, I think, as we sort of going into wrapping this conversation and episode, I was wondering if you could give any final thoughts or advice to our listeners who are sort of only beginning the academia and journey in the world of higher education. Someone who wants to be an aspirational educator or administrator, what advice would you give for them?
Yeah, I think my first piece of advice, looking back at my own career, is find your way to have impact. And everyone can have impact in very different ways. Many faculty remain faculty their entire careers, don't become an administrator, and have great impact through their teaching, through their research, through their service. Find what brings you passion in being able to have impact, because the higher ed environment is flush with opportunities to have impact and to do good for humanity. And to me, that's the best value of being involved in higher education. For students,
Right.
find your passion, and understand that you won't know that the first day you walk through the door
Right.
in college. Most people don't.
Mm,
And to faculty and staff, don't expect students to know what they want to do the first day they walk in the door. And what that means for institutions, the institutions that will thrive in the future are the ones that provide diverse pathways, not just through their academic programs,
right.
but into their institution, recognizing that people come from all sorts of different backgrounds and experiences. And if you are truly focused on empowering student success and career outcomes in the future, you will create a diverse set of pathways into your institution. You'll create a diverse set of pathways through that support their success, so
Right.
that they have a diverse set of pathways into their careers of choice to do good for humanity. And to me, that is the most important thing for our higher ed institution to be thinking about now from an education perspective.
That's fantastic. As I'm thinking about this, I'm very confident that there will be many, many people who would be interested in learning more about you and about the work that you do. What is the best way to find you and to learn from your, rigorous expertise?
Yeah, absolutely. So, our website, www.iit.edu, has lots of information on the Elevate program, our academic programs, our approach to education. And my email address is available on our website. And I'm happy to hear from people that might want to talk about what we're doing here at Illinois Tech. And I also love to learn from others that are taking similar or perhaps different approaches. I think one of the best things we can all do is learn from each other. And so would love some conversation around that.
That's amazing. Thank you again so much for joining Education and Empowerment Podcast. This has been a pleasure. If you want to learn more about Forstay, check us out at about.forstay.com. There will be more exciting episodes coming. Until next episode, Dr. Christensen, thank you so much for joining us today and giving us a chance to learn from you and from your expertise.
Thanks very much. Really appreciate it.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Education and Empowerment Podcast. This show is brought to you by Forstay, a SaaS-enabled online booking marketplace for student and intern housing. Forstay provides turnkey, all-in-one cloud-based accommodation software solutions for colleges, universities, and organizations. Learn more at offcampus.forstay.com and landlords.forstay.com.